What's going on, guys? Dan Watson, learningcameras.com, and here I've got two awesome cameras. We got the Canon 5DS and the Sony a7RII Mark II. Now, these are a little bit different cameras in how they respond. We got DSLR and mirrorless. However, these are really the top from each manufacturer. So a 50 megapixel Canon sensor, brand new on the market, and an a7RII Mark II. So, you know, sensor-wise, camera-wise, these are some of the top in the industry for what they can deliver, especially resolution-wise. So I really wanted to just put these together and see kind of where each one stands and how they are doing against each other. Now, again, don't take my word for this stuff. Head to learningcameras.com, download the full resolution pictures yourself. That's where you're going to see the major differences between them, especially with these large resolution cameras. So all of that is going to be made available. Learningcameras.com. Download them. Don't just trust me, and don't trust the YouTube compression on these videos. So also, when you're dealing with some very high-end cameras like this and maybe a brand new system for you, definitely consider renting before buying. So I picked these up from the Lens Depot, and they've got full rental shipping locations to all of the United States, and if you pick them up in 2 locations in Florida, you can get some free pickup options there too. So if you're in Florida, that's even a better idea. It's just a great way to test out gear. They got a ton of selection of Canon, Nikon, Sony, Cinema, even some drones as well. So definitely something to check out, and you get reward points for your frequent rentals. And so overall, it's just a great way to go. So check out the description below for some more information about the Lens Depot. So let's check out these cameras and see how they were able to perform. Despite the 5DS having a bit higher resolution at 50 megapixels, the 42 megapixel a7RII II showed a bit more detail. Now, this is probably due to the fact that the a7RII II has a no low pass filter on it, while the 5DS does. Now, you can opt for $200 more for the 5DSR, which will has a cancellation filter to negate the effects of the low pass filter, and that will probably give you some of the same results in terms of detail. That said, you will see a larger difference on the detail side rather than the higher resolution when looking at a screen, and so you might want to consider the 5DSR or the a7RII II if detail is going to be your thing. Now, obviously, both of these are amazing cameras, so you're not going to see that large of a difference, and you're definitely going to want to download the full resolution files to be able to see even subtle differences. That said, let's talk about low light real quick, and the a7RII II just edges out just a bit on the low light side. At about 800 ISO, both look almost identical, but by 3200 ISO, the a7RII Mark II gets just a little bit better, especially in the shadow areas, at controlling noise. That said, the differences are not drastic enough that I would be able to shoot the a7RII II at 3200 ISO and not the 5DS. I mean, they're going to be both able to shoot at about the same levels of low light performance. You're just going to get a tiny bit cleaner file with the a7RII II than you will with the 5DS. When it comes to dynamic range, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. We do know the a7RII II does beat out the 5DS. However, when it came to actual images, sure, the a7RII II files look cleaner when you boost the shadow areas. You do have a little bit more room. The files when imported to Lightroom also have a little bit less contrast than the 5DS, which helps you eke out a little bit more information out of those shadows. That said, the 5DS files look pretty good. I was actually a bit more impressed than I thought I would be at the level of detail I was able to get out of the shadows. And sure, I introduced a little bit more noise, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and it was definitely cleanable. And you know, you could get some really, really nice high dynamic range images out of these raw files, and it really pulled off a job a bit better than I thought it would. The a7RII II is definitely going to win this test, but it's not by a high enough margin that I would consider it over the 5DS just based on that. One interesting thing is if you're shooting landscapes with these cameras, the autofocus system on the 5DS, while it has plenty of points, they are limited into where they are on the frame. And you don't want to have to change your composition just to get the thing you wanted to focus on inside of one of those points. And so I found that the a7RII II, it allowed me to move the point pretty much anywhere I wanted in the frame and know that I was going to get pinpoint autofocus. Also, when shooting landscapes, it was kind of nice to have the ability to look through the viewfinder and see my image as it would appear, because depending on where the sun was, it could make the screen a little bit more difficult to see. So I was able to get a little more accurate judge of what my image was going to look like out of the a7RII II rather than the 5DS. One thing I still have to give Canon props for is the colors. I mean, the colors out of the 5DS look amazing. Canon has always been good with coloring. I find that they tend to go a little bit more red, whereas the A7R II went a little bit more to the yellows and greens. And that to me made a big difference, especially when shooting portraits. I really love the skin tones that you're able to get out of the 5DS, and I had to do a little bit of correction to get the A7R II within that. So nothing you can't fix in post, but I did find the overall quality of the colors just looked a bit more natural, and especially with skin tones on the 5DS. So overall, I mean, these are definitely two great camera systems, very, very different cameras, so I'm not going to go too much more into that, but what I want you to do is head to learningcameras.com, download these full resolution images. You can follow us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. One thing I'd recommend you doing, take a look at our information at Facebook, edit these files yourself, post the results that you're able to get with the 5DS and the A7R Mark II. I'd love to see your thoughts on editing both of these side-by-side files and see if you found one that really delivered better performance than you were expecting, or if you found one much better than others. So two awesome cameras depending on what you're shooting. For me, I definitely prefer the A7R II for the dynamic range, definitely the video obviously, and overall just being a better camera fitted for a variety of different environments. For the Canon, they've definitely made some sensor improvements, but they still have some noise in the shadows that just kind of deteriorate the images, and also at your lower ISOs you're going to see grains sneak up even a little bit faster on that one. However, the colors, contrast, overall image quality and tones are great on the Canon. So I love this for a portrait camera. I love this for your lower ISOs, even shooting a wedding with it, and even a little bit of landscape work. That's really where this camera is going to shine even more. And Canon kind of limited some of the other features, I think, to really push you into that market where it's going to excel, rather than have you use it for some other things that maybe this is not the best camera for. So again, download those images. If you need to rent these cameras, the Lens Depot information is below. Stay tuned, there's some more awesome stuff coming up, and we'll see you soon.